Good day everyone! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me again, Teacher Jessica. Before we start on our discussion, do not forget to subscribe, like, and share for more upcoming videos. This module covered the Module 1 and 2 of Health this quarter. At the end of the session, I will showing the activities that you need to answer. So, you need to listen carefully and take down notes the important details that may help you in answering the activities. Let's now begin with the lesson. Disease prevention and control is a very important health concern because it affects the quality of people's life. Communicable diseases that only threaten the sick person, but also his or her family and the society in general. Thus, protecting ourselves and our families from diseases is both a personal and social responsibility. Familiar ba kayo sa kasabihang ito? There is a very popular saying, prevention is better than cure. As you go along, you will notice that the diseases you are experiencing or encountering can be prevented if you only know how to control them. Accordingly, if you lack self-discipline, then prevention and control of diseases will be difficult to attain. Now, let us discuss the stages of infection. First stage, incubation. The period of starting from the entry of the pathogen until the appearance of the first sign. For example, chickenpox. It takes 2 to 3 weeks of incubation. For common cold naman, 1 to 2 days. For influenza, it takes 1 to 3 days. And for mumps, it takes 15 to 18 days. Next stage, prodromal stage. Starts from the onset of non-specific signs and symptoms such as fever. Third stage, illness stage. Begins when more specific signs and symptoms appear. For example, common cold is characterized by sore throat, sinus congestion, rhinitis, and mumps manifested by earache, high fever, and salivary gland swelling. And the last stage, convalescence stage. This stage of infection is an interval when acute symptoms of infection disappear. The length of recovery depends on the severity of infection and the sick person's general state of health. Recovery may take several days to months. The leading causes of morbidity and mortality in the Philippines as of 2017. Diseases shown on the graph are not all communicable diseases, such as heart diseases, hypertension, diabetes, and the like. Yan ay example na non-communicable or yung mga diseases na hindi nakakahawa. Hence, respiratory illnesses such as pneumonia and chronic respiratory infections are one of the most leading causes of death. And this year, we are facing the challenge of breaking free from one of these communicable disease na marami ng mga tao ang namatay dahil dito, ang coronavirus. Exposing ourselves to a COVID positive could draw us in danger to acquire the virus. That's why we need to prevent the spread of it and be observant. Kailangan natin sundin ang safety protocol na social distancing, pagsusuot ng mask, at ang pagsusuot ng face shield. What is pathogen? Many of the most common diseases are caused by tiny microorganisms called pathogen. Pathogen infects or invades the body and attacks its cells and tissues. Some bacteria, rickettsias, fungi, protozoans, certain types of worms, and all viruses are called pathogens. Diseases caused by the direct or indirect spread of pathogens from one person to another are called communicable diseases. Pag sinabi natin communicable diseases, ito yung mga sakit na nakakahawa. Sometimes through direct contact or indirect contact. Here are the types of pathogen. First type, bacteria, are one-celled microscopic organisms that rank among the most widespread of living things. Some are small, that a single grain of soil and may contain over 100 million of them. Most bacteria do not cause diseases. Toxin bacteria. It produces a certain poison. Botulism is a food poison. These bacteria live in the soil. Once they enter the body through a wound, they can cause tetanus or lockjaw. Other bacteria cause pneumonia. Next, let us discuss the resident bacteria. It lives in the human mouth, intestines, and on our skin. These help us protect from harmful bacteria. Rickettsias are organisms that are considered intermediate, and that is somewhere between a virus and a bacterium. Most of them grow in the intestinal tracts of insects, which carry them to their human host. Rickettsia requires living cells in order to grow and multiply. Blood-sucking insects such as lice or lisa, yung kuto, carry rickettsias to humans. Typhus fever, a Rocky Mountain spotted fever are diseases caused on this organism. Rickettsias are organisms that are considered intermediate, that is somewhere between a virus and a bacterium. Most of them grow in the intestinal tracts of insects, which carry them to their human host. For example, lice or lisa, mites, and ticks carry rickettsias to humans. Typhus fever, a Rocky Mountain spotted fever, are diseases caused by these organisms. Familiar naman kayo sa virus na ito. Itong virus na ito ay coronavirus. Ito ang dahilan kung bakit tayo ay hindi naging malaya at kung bakit tayo ay takot lumabas ng ating tahanan. Dahil kung tayo ay madapuan ng virus na ito, maaari tayong magkasakit at iyon ang ating ikamatay. Viruses are small, simple, life-like forms from 1/2 to 100, the size of a bacteria. These organisms are the human body's worst enemies. All viruses are parasites. Next, fungi. Fungi are simple organisms that cannot make their own food. Many live on dead animals, insects, and leaves, or dahon. Next, protozoans. They are single-celled organisms that are larger than bacteria and have a more complex cellular structure. They cause malaria, African sleeping sickness, and amoebic dysentery, a severe intestinal infection. Most of these are harmless, and they are most common in tropical areas that have poor sanitation. Next, let us discuss the parasitic worm. A worm is classified as a parasite. parasite is a disease-causing organism that lives on humans or another animals and derives its nourishment from its host. Lice are example of parasites. Ang lice, yan yung mga lisa that live on humans. Bacteria and viruses are example of parasites that live either on humans or in animals. Parasitic worms, also called helminths, live in humans. Helminth eggs contaminate food, water, air, feces, pets, wild animals, and objects such as toilet seats and door handles. The eggs enter the body of a human through the mouth, nose, and anus. Once inside the body, helminth eggs usually lodge in the intestines, hatch, grow, and multiply. They can sometimes infest other body sites. The word helminth is derived from the Greek word helminths, means worm. Helminthology is the study of parasitic worm. Common helminths and the problems they cause include the following. Roundworm. Roundworms hatch and live in the intestines. The eggs usually enter the body through contaminated water, food fingers placed in the mouth, and hands that have touched a contaminated object. Symptoms of their presence include fatigue, weight loss, irritability, poor appetite, abdominal pain, and diarrhea. Treatment with medication results in a cure of about a week. Without treatment, anemia and malnutrition can develop. Next, pinworms. It is also called sitworms and threadworms. Pinworms hatch and live primarily in the intestines. The eggs usually enter the body through the anus, nose, or mouth, through inhaled air or fingers that have touched a contaminated object. Symptoms of their presence include anal itching, pale skin, and stomach discomfort. If pinworms enter the vagina, discharge and itching may develop. Pinworms do not cause serious complications. Treatment with medication results in a cure within days. Trequena spiralis. This worm lives in the intestines and causes a serious illness known as trichinosis. The eggs usually enter the body via raw or undercooked pork, sausage, or bear meat. In the intestines, the eggs hatch, mature, and migrate to other parts of the body through the bloodstream and the lymphatic system. Early symptoms include vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal cramps. In time, a high fever, puffiness of the face, and muscle pain develop. Eventually, the worms can penetrate the muscles, the heart, and the brain, and it can cause death. Treatment with an anti-worm drug such as thiabendazole, as well as bed rest and the physician cares, can cure trichinosis. Recovery may take several months. Diagnosis of trichinosis sometimes requires analysis of a tissue sample, biopsy, taken from muscle. Next, tapeworm. Tapeworms live in the intestines. The eggs usually enter the body via raw or at symptoms of their presence are usually absent. However, some patients experience abdominal pain, fatigue, weight loss, and diarrhea. Treatment with medication results in a cure within days. Next, Fluke. Fluke lives in the body, including the intestines, bladder, rectum, liver, spleen, lungs, and veins. Flukes first mature inside freshwater snails. After leaving the snails, they can enter the body of humans by penetrating the skin of persons swimming, bathing, or washing in water where flukes are active. Infected persons can contaminate the water by urinating or defecating in it. Most infected persons experience no symptoms. However, some infected persons may experience rash, itching, muscle aches, coughing, chills, and fever. Flukes pass out of the body, but persons can become infected again and again. In time, the repeated infections can damage the liver, bladder, intestines, and even your lungs. In rare cases, flukes can invade the spinal cord or brain and cause seizures and paralysis. Fluke-caused illnesses are classified as schistosomiasis and are mainly confined to Africa, parts of South America, Caribbean, parts of the Middle East, China, and also the Philippines. Prevention of Helminth diseases usually requires frequent washing of hands, frequent cleaning of bathrooms and kitchens, and thorough cooking of the food they infest, mainly beef, pork, sausage, and bear meat. Water supplies should be chlorinated if possible. Here are the example of communicable diseases. Again, pag sinabi natin communicable, ito yung mga sakit na nakakahawa. Pwedeng direct, pwede namang indirect. Kinds of transmission. First, direct. Contact transmission, foodborne or waterborne transmission, vector-borne transmission. Next naman, pag sinabi nating indirect, droplet transmission or airborne transmission. Next naman, here are the mode of transmissions, example of diseases, and preventive measures. Learning activities in Health Aid. Activity number 1. Activity number 2. Activity number 3. The last activity, activity number 4. Before we end our discussion for today, I want to ask you a simple question. What have you learned on our discussion? Kindly write your answer on the comment box below. I hope you learned something today. Thank you and God bless to all.